Hello everyone, it's Leo and it's time to talk about the third episode from Princess Session Orchestra. Before talking about the episode itself, I want to talk about the new concepts this episode brought because it's been bringing a lot of concepts for the past few episodes. It's been there's a lot of exposure in terms of what's going on and the items and the powers and the ideas. And I feel like this episode brought some new ones. So let's discuss them before talking about the event. The first one is Muse Essence, which we learned in episode 2. And now we have another layer to that. We have the crystallized Muse Essence. And I think they are called song fragments. And they are basically a crystallization of Muse Essence. And Navi explains that there are two of them. One of them is the one that is created and it's crystallized when a girl awakens her powers as a princess. So we saw that in the first episode with Princess Ripple. Zeal also gone through the same thing. She went through the same thing. And in the second episode, we see Nachi's Muse Essence being crystallized. And this other crystallization that happened with Nachi's Muse Essence is a different one. It's the second type of song fragment, which is something that they will probably collect and they will be, saving those. And they are, after the Muse Essence has been captured by the Jabberwocks, I think that's their name. After they've been captured by them, they are purified by the princesses, and one fragment, a little bit of this Muse Essence is crystallized, and it becomes that trinket. And that trinket can be used for the girls to have a little bit of a power up. So it's an interesting idea. And it's also probably going to be a collectible. I am not following the toy releases for this show closely. And I am going to try not to, because I want to have a different experience than I have with Precure, because Precure, you know what's going to come because of the toys. And with Princession, I want to have a different type of experience. I want to have a bit more free experience this time around. So I will try not to follow the collectibles and such so much. Another concept that we see here is the Alysia concept. And we've heard the Alysian concept before, the idea that is behind it. And in this episode, more questions are raised. So in Alysia, only girls can enter. And only girls up until high school can enter. After that, they cannot enter anymore. And another thing is that we see that in Alysia, when you go to Alysia, you can, record yourself, you can dance, you can perform. And the videos that are uploaded when people are in Alysia are uploaded by the Alysians themselves. There's no real control over the girls posting what they want to post. It's like the Alysians are the ones that are choosing what goes online. And there's also the question, it raises the question, what happens with girls who get older, who finish high school and they got to college or they start working? Do they forget that the magical Alysia exists and the Alysia app is just an app and they forget the experiences they had inside this world? Or do they just stop talking about it and it's like, it's a secret? What is the case? It's kind of in the air right now. And another concept is the villains, because the villains are not humans and they're not Alysians either. So it's like a third place, a third world, a third collection of creatures, of humans. We don't really know if they're humans. It doesn't look like they are. And so what are they and what are they after? Navi does not know. No one knows who they are, where they are coming from, what they're trying to achieve. And in this episode, a new type of Jabberwock is born, which is a stronger version. And it's weird because I thought that the one we saw in episode 3 is like in the same power level that the one we saw in episode 2. It doesn't seem like it. It seems that in episode 2, they used Muse Essence to power a monster up. And now we have another one being brought up in the fray, and it seems that it's a little stronger, and it's not created with Muse Essence, or at least that's not what it seems. So those are the concepts that we have for the third episode. Very nice world building, I feel like. And the third episode, I feel like, was the tamest out of the three of them. I feel like Princess Session, it's fun because when I look at Princess Session, like the music and the visuals, I see a show that is supposed to be for kids, but it's trying to go for a wider audience, an older audience as well. But I feel like this episode really showed that it really is a show for kids. Like the dialogues and the events, the reactions of the characters, everything was very tame. And it's like, I at least feel like they are specifically done for the youngest children possible to understand what's going on. The explanations are slow and they are explained in a simple, everything is explained in a very simple way. Things are simple and direct, straight to the point. And even though I feel like for example, the music, it feels a little different than what I would expect for a kid's show, for example, but the narrative and the construction overall feels very kids show. And I'm not saying this as a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just stating how I'm feeling about it. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing is up to for the viewer. I feel like there are people that vibe with this energy. There are people that don't vibe with this energy. I personally like this, so I don't have a problem with it. But as I said, I feel like this was a very tame episode, and I feel like sometimes we should have had a little bit more energy, especially with Minamo scenes, because I feel like she is trying to get there. You know, she is trying, but there isn't enough for her. We have her having this idea of following Shirabe around, and Shirabe is her surname, and she is following her around to learn how to be a princess. And we have lots of scenes. Some of them are very funny, I'll give you that. And then we have them meeting each other, and Shirabe is like, girl, you've been following me, what's going on? And she tells her, and Shirabe starts opening up and saying like, okay, if you're trying to do that, you should follow me as a princess, not as a human, because basically what she is trying to say there is, I'm not a special person as a human. I'm just like everyone else. I might have something different in me because I'm Princess Zeal, but as a person, I'm just like everybody. And very nice. I really like Shirabe's character so far, Kagari's character so far. I'm calling her Shirabe because there's a change in that later on in the episode. And I really like her character, very cool. And I feel like this episode just gave what it had to give when it comes to her characterization. So they sit down a little bit, and Kagari tells her a little bit more of her story. Her parents are very famous. Her dad is a choreographer. He is famous nationwide. And her mom is a very famous opera singer who travels the world singing. And she's also very popular, very known. And Kagari decided to be an idol in Alysia, and that was not because of the influence of her parents. That was a path that she found for herself. And that was a very cute thing, I feel like. But Kagari does not accept the idea that she stands out among people. For her, she has a little bit more of attention because she started before everyone else. She feels like there is nothing really special about her. I wonder if this is going to play out for her character later on, because in this episode it didn't really feel like this amounted to anything. So I feel like this is character building for the future. For Kagari, she doesn't feel like she is a special character or a special person in the world, even though she is very popular in Alysia as Kagari, as an idol. But like for her, there's nothing special about it. For her, she just happens to be like that because she started before anyone else. It's like anyone can do it. I just had luck. So, you know, I feel like that was something related to her character building that we might see more down the road in Princession. I am curious about that. And she's my favorite, so obviously I'm going to be curious. And then we have a little bit of the discussion on how she became Zeal. Unfortunately, we do not see it, and it's very sad. But there's something interesting about that because she says that it was basically like what happened to Ripple or to Minamo. She was running from the Jabberwocks, and then she woke that power, and the Muse Essence appeared, the song fragment appeared, she became Princess Zeal, and she and Navi started communicating. and she started defending Alysia. We don't see it, but she tells us, or she tells Minamo, that the villain that we saw in the first and second episodes, she's never seen him before. She never saw any of the villains before either. And in this episode, we meet another one, but this is something that is, at least, that's what it seems. They have been appearing for now. Like, they are a more recent thing in Alysia. Like, they've been appearing for the princesses more recently. So this is a new idea for them. Like, oh, guys in Alysia, villains in Alysia. And then we get a very short scene with the villains, and I feel like that was a scene that didn't really bring much in terms of villain personalities and anything. I didn't really feel anything, but let me just say, I really like the design of the villain that attacked in the third episode. Girl, I love that green hair. He looks so cool. Is that green or is that blue? For me, that's a green. That's a shade of green. So we have the villain appearing and attacking. Before that, we have a little bit of discussion on Alysia, what we've mentioned in the video before. And it's nice because the Alysia app is able to communicate. Navi is able to use the Alysia app to communicate with the princesses here in our world. So they traverse there very fast. We see both of them arriving and both of them transform. So we see Zeal's transformation for the first time. I have reacted to her transformation here on the channel if you'd like to check it out. I love her transformation. For me, it's the best one from this season so far, from this show so far. It's a very beautiful transformation, and I also love the song. Oh my god. And then we have this new creature appearing. It's a different monster than the ones we've had in episodes 1 and 2. And it's stronger. Ripple has a hard time dealing with it. Zeal comes in and she helps her. And then when Ripple is there sitting down, Zeal is the one fighting by herself. Both of them are having a hard time. Princess Ripple had a harder time before. And then Zeal, even though she saved Ripple, she was still having a hard time. And let me just say that I think that the animation of the battle in this episode was really bad, really weak. But it's just like what happens to Precure sometimes. We know that the animation isn't really there, but and I'm trying not to watch this thinking on Precure, but sometimes it's inevitable. The animation isn't really there, but we know that the ideas are there, and unfortunately, maybe because of time constraints or something else, they couldn't really deliver on the animation department, but the ideas are there. The ideas are good. And I feel like that's what happened here. The ideas behind the fighting scene were cool. And the one thing I found weird is that it's kind of like very early for the girls to be this weak already in a Magical Girl show. Usually when we have Magical Girl shows, they're very strong. And then as the show goes on, they tend to get weaker, and then they get power-ups, and then they get new attacks, etc. But they are very weak already. They're not able to deal with this much. But Ripple is waking up as Ripple once again. And she thinks that when she became Ripple to defend the dreams of people. And here's something I was in doubt, like, was she defending Nachi or was she defending dreams in general? And now we see her saying that she wants to defend everyone's dreams, including Zeal, so she had to stand up and fight. And she uses Nachi's song fragment, or the song fragment that was born out of Nachi's power, Nachi's muse essence, which is Sun, very relatable to Nachi's personality. And we get a little boost of power, a surge of power, and Princess Ripple is able to stop the monster, and Zeal uses her attack to finish the monster. As I said, I feel like it's kind of very early for them to need power-ups like this in battle, but Zeal's attack, honey, oh my god. It's gorgeous. I love this so much. What a beautiful attack. And then the episode ends, the villain goes away, and the episode ends with both Kagari and Minamo talking. And then we have a moment for both of them to acknowledge the other as friend and as a companion, as a battle companion. And they look at each other and say, well, now you have to call me not Shirabe. Call me Kagari, which is my first name. So we're closer now. And Minamo, the same thing. Don't call me Sorano anymore. Call me Minamo, which is my first name. So they are calling themselves by their first names, and they have been strengthening their bonds. So that's a very cute thing as well. So I feel like next week we are going to meet the third character. I don't know if she's going to become Princess Meteor already. Based on the title of the episode, it seems we're going to meet her as a civilian. So I'm curious for that. And I feel like this episode, as I said, was the tamest one out of the bunch. And even though it had Zeal's transformation, it had a little bit on Kagari's story, it was still more focused on Minamo. And I still need a little more from her when it comes to her energy, when it comes to what she is delivering on screen. I feel like I need a little bit more from her character, a little bit more reaction, a little bit more something. And I mean, I feel like she is being an okay protagonist for me so far. So I have been liking her, but I feel like she blends too much. You know, she doesn't stand out. Like, she doesn't stand out at all. And so I really want more from Minamo as the main character. But as I said, I feel like the energy is not really quite there yet. But I feel like the energy is going to come with the third character. It seems that she is the energetic one. Let's wait and see. Anyways, babies, this was my view on the third episode from Princess Session Orchestra. Are you watching this show? Are you having fun with Princess Session? If you are, please leave a comment. Let's keep talking about it. Anyways, babies, this is it for now. I'm going to take this little time to thank the members of the Magical Cinnamon channel. If you're a member, thank you very much for your support. And if you've watched up until now, thank you so much as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.